Today, we're making burrata with beets. All right, so last week, Wiff and I went to a brand new restaurant. We ordered the burrata and it was so good, we were like, oh my God, we can't wait to come back. And then the bill came and we were like, oh my God, let's burn this place to the ground. They wanted $29 for burrata. When they said the cheese was imported from a village in Puglia, I didn't realize we actually bought the village in Puglia. So many times I'll be at a restaurant eating something and I'll think, I could do this better. My wife always says the same thing. She's like, you probably shouldn't say that to the chef. I'm just thankful she doesn't call the chef, chef. Why do they call the chef, chef anyway? Chef means chief. That's a pretty big title for someone whose job is to say, needs more salt. My brother's a chief in the Navy. On deployment, he has to carry a gun. What do these guys carry? A spatula? Come on. But the burrata was actually really good, and we had such a wonderful time, I thought, I wonder if I could recreate this at home. So our ingredients are beets, burrata, microgreens, pistachio, and parsley. Now the dish I'm copying used burrata imported from Puglia. We're using burrata imported from Denmark, Wisconsin. Now at the restaurant, this burrata dish had sorrel on top. If you can't find sorrel, just use any sort of microgreens. And if you can't use microgreens, use lawn trimmings. It all tastes the same. This dish calls for pistachios, which are my absolute favorite nut, aside from the two nuts that I keep closest to me at all times, almonds and pecans. Now for our prep, we're gonna start by washing and drying our beets. That's pretty much it for prep. So for the actual cooking, here we go. First, heat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius, a million. Now we're gonna start off with a sheet pan of any size, that doesn't matter. You wanna place a large sheet of heavy duty foil, preferably an 18 by 18 inch square. Now, if you got the 12-inch roll of foil, that's fine. You're just gonna put your beets in a rectangle instead of a circle. Place your beets, douse liberally with extra virgin olive oil, and a good amount of kosher salt. Next, you're gonna bring those corners up to a point and make a little pouch, and then seal each side and just roll it in. Now, the actual method that you use to make your pouch doesn't really matter. The idea is to keep all the steam and heat inside so that the steam helps them cook. Then we're gonna place our beets in the oven for about an hour. Now, if yours are the smaller kind of beets, maybe the size of ping pong balls or pool balls, why do I feel weird saying pool balls? You'll probably be closer to 35 to 45 minutes. Now, if you got big honkin' beets, like I do, we're gonna be closer to an hour. It's really hard to overcook beets though, so I always err on the side of a little bit longer. Now to test your beets, take them out of the oven, open up that pouch carefully. Don't burn yourself like I did once or twice or 4 times, and insert a paring knife into the largest beet. If you encounter any resistance whatsoever, seal that pouch back up and stick them back in the oven. You know you're done when you can insert your paring knife into the beet and encounter zero resistance, like Germany when they invaded France, or like Germany when they invaded Italy. The next step is to peel the beets. You can peel them under cool running water. You can just use your hands. If they need a little help, you can use the back of a knife to kind of scrape them off, or you can use a paper towel to get a little more traction on the skin. It should just slough off pretty easily. Plus, the running water will help remove any of the beet juice that gets on your fingers before it actually sets in and stains them. Ask me how I know. Next, we're gonna move the beets to a board and dice. Now, if you're using one of those janky plastic cutting boards, you know, the kind that have the benefits of being able to wash in the dishwasher and also show every single groove that your knife cuts into them, I would recommend setting down a piece of parchment paper first. That'll ensure that your plastic cutting board doesn't stain and look like you got it at Dexter's garage sale. I'm using parchment paper here mostly for illustration purposes, but also because beet juice will stain wood boards as well. We're gonna start by cutting off the tops, and then continue making slices down the beet about every 3/8 of an inch or about every centimeter or so, pausing to snack as necessary. Then you'll stack a few slices and make 1 centimeter cuts along those lines to make sticks. Rotate 90 degrees, continue cutting, and you've got yourself a dice. And continue with the rest of the beets, again, pausing to sample as necessary. After all the sampling, you should have some left, and you'll know whether it needs a little bit more salt. So give them a little extra seasoning if necessary. Mine did. Next, transfer them to a pretty plate or bowl, stopping to admire your pretty red tips, and carefully place the burrata on top of your little mountain of beets. Next, you're gonna wanna pick off a few of the prettiest parsley leaves and delicately place them around strategically among the beets. Sprinkle a few nuts in there, and then it's time to top with your microgreens. Now you can actually prep this beforehand and refrigerate for a couple hours as is, although I'd recommend adding the parsley and the microgreens just before serving it to guests. or yourself. Now, how does it compare to the actual restaurant dish? I think it's pretty close. Now, granted, their plating arguably is a little bit prettier, and their cheese came from Puglia, but I kind of like the loose burrata we got from Denmark, Wisconsin. And for the grand total price of $6 or $7, yeah, it was totally worth it. So give this a shot, let me know what you think. That's how you make burrata with beets.